So here I am in the bowels of the BBC, and I'm going to be grabbing the guys from Metallica, and I've got exclusive access to each one of them individually, really as and when in between their various duties, and having a chat with them about life, the universe, and Metallica. Lars, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to finally be here.
Yes, Death Magnetic. I'm thinking of renaming my copy Fridge Magnetic because that was the last time I spent a significant amount of time with you, was standing by Rod Smallwood's fridge in Los Angeles in the 80s.
Yeah, just up the road from the Rainbow. Weatherly Drive.
Weatherly Drive, that's
there,
it.
That was it, 1200.
1200, you remember it better than I do. Now, Rod, of course, being Rod and never being one to hide his light under a bushel, has always turned around and said, oh, yes, Lars, I taught him everything he knows. I'm like, yeah, well, yeah, you know, he may have had the odd idea on the quiet, on the sly, on his own. But it is fair to say, you know, you were picking his brains. What did you find?
Absolutely. No, listen, as I've heard myself say countless times over the years, you know that Iron Maiden has been not just a fascination, but an obsession of mine since day one. And I've always modeled Metallica after Iron Maiden in terms of, the packaging and the relationship with, the kids and the T-shirts. And it was always so much fun to hear that from Rod, because when I finally met him here in London in '84, and then it was like, wow, this guy's actually not only great at what he does, he's also a cool guy to like hang out with. And it was a great couple of years for me. A pivotal moment was, we were mixing Master Puppets, and we ended up at Rod's house. So I played him side one, and the last song on side one is a song called Sanitarium. And when we were done with that, I went over to turn the tape over, and he said, that last song, can you play that for me again? That's when I knew that we were onto something great. Yeah. When he asked to play a song again, and it was like, wow, now I can die a happy man. Rod Small was asked to hear Sanitarium again.
Yeah, he was Simon Cowell before Simon Cowell knew he existed.
Right.
Yeah. Fridge Magnetic. No, I think we're doing the album a disservice. This is actually a great record.
Thank you.
But I do think that management needs their head examined for their choice of first track. But Cyanide, man, that track.
Well, thank you.
That has got legs on it and balls and everything else. I mean, that's a great track.
Well, thank you. The interesting thing for me about hearing feedback from everybody in the last couple of weeks is that everybody's got a different story. And where on earlier records, say the Black Album or whatever, Sandman, okay, the other guy says Sandman and somebody else says Sad But True, but not a lot of people said My Friend of Misery or Song 9. Here on this, it's literally about as even across the board. For you sitting there and saying Cyanide, other people are going, that's the weakest track on the record. It was, people are saying that, going, The Unforgiven is the absolute, and for every guy that says that, another guy saying, why can't they leave that alone? And for every guy sitting there going, the instrumental is back, somebody else is saying enough of the instrumental. So it's, everybody's got an opinion.
You said evenly divided opinions. On the subject of evenly divided, this feels like a very evenly divided album in terms of people's contribution to it. I mean, regardless of who wrote the songs, sure. It sounds like a real, dare I say, more evenly divided than something like, say, I'm going to stick my neck out here and say Sananga.
Sure, of course.
Which, would it be fair to say that there was more of you on that record?
Yes.
Yeah.
Listen, you know what James was dealing with. There was a movie made that a lot of people saw, and everybody knows what James was dealing with, so I had to somebody had to take the reins on that.
Are you familiar with David Bowie's project, Tin Machine?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Is Saint Anger your tin machine? That's a very long pause for Lars Ulrich.
I don't know if it's good enough. I don't know if it's good enough to be Tin Machine.
Oh, I never expected that one. Okay.
But Saint Anger serves a purpose, which is that it bridges the past to Death Magnetic. And if Saint Anger wasn't there, I'm pretty sure that we wouldn't be sitting here talking to each other, because there wouldn't be a band. Saint Anger became sort of like the survival mechanism in order for us to continue.
Why did you let the movie come out?
I think it was a dare. It was a dare to...
Is that a good idea?
Well, That's secondary. I mean, I'm always up for a dare. They were going to film some infomercials and
Infomercials?
like late night, in America.
Exactly
here,
what you mean. Yeah.
On the making of the Metallica record, and then it would be like these half-hour. Okay, maybe infomercial is not the right word.
Okay.
But had these half-hour making of that would run on TV. That was the idea.
Okay, all right.
And then Hetfield shows up one day and goes, I'm going to rehab. All of a sudden
They think they've died and gone to heaven because this is
all of a sudden this whole thing plays out. And they came to us one day and said, we think there's a great movie in this. Are you game? And we said, you know what? We trust you.
Why did you do that? Why did you take that decision?
We felt that was the purest way of doing it, that if we were going to sit there and edit things out, that then it wouldn't be a movie about us, it would be a movie by us, and that was a different thing. And I look at that movie as the ultimate access to the band.
But
and
did it have the reverse effect, though? Because
I think to some of the hardcore Metallica fans, I think that it was too much. But certainly the film was probably better received in the movie world, in the film world, than it was in the music world. But as a film, I think it's very interesting because it has a human element to it. It has a natural, dramatic arc that plays out. And then it sort of became its own monster.
Yeah, no, but it is difficult because there are elements of it which are clearly intensely private.
We have this reputation, the Metallica machine and all this, stuff. People would, I think, be stunned if they could be inside our decision-making processes. And that's how we end up in Napster situations, or that's how we end up in some of these compromising situations, because what we do in this band is we just jump. And then we worry about where we're going to land when we're mid-flight.
Yeah.
We don't land in the most comfortable of places.
Yes. Did you ever read that quote, by the way?
I did not.
Henry Miller, all growth is an unpremeditated leap in the dark with no idea of where you're going to land.
I like it.
There you go. That's what he said anyway. Let's move on from Saint Anger onto this one. Bob Rock, Rick Rubin, the characteristics thereof. I get the impression Bob Rock was much more of a controlling kind of a producer, and that Rick may be a controlling producer in a sort of a spiritual way. Is that roughly correct?
Well, there's two things that Bob Rock does that Rick Rubin does not do.
Plays bass.
There's three. Well, yeah, okay. Well, 2.5. Bob Rock is a musician. Rick Rubin, if you gave him a guitar, could not play 2 chords on it. Number 2, Bob Rock is obviously an accomplished engineer. Rick Rubin, if you say go over and turn up some high end on the snare drum, he wouldn't know which button to push. So those are the differences. And when we made the decision to roll with Rick, I think James and me, we never spoke about it, but it felt to me like both of us took a slight step back to let Rick kind of do whatever it is that Rick does. If you said, Lars, describe what Rick Rubin does in the studio, it's so difficult to articulate in a couple sound bites. I mean, Rick is a big picture guy. Rick sits there and goes like, why don't you try and play all the songs in E instead of an E flat? Because it's better for James's vocals. That's big picture.
Yeah, it sounds great. Listen, you've got to get off because I believe you've got a gig to do in not
something
very long.
Like that.
Absolutely.
So at least half a gig.
Yeah, create some kind of monster down at the BBC in the bowels. Lovely to chat to you.
Yeah, back at you, man.
Yeah.
Let's do it again.
Excellent. Kirk, welcome to the Rock Show.
Hey, Bruce, how you doing?
You're sitting here off microphone singing Samson tunes. Now, what is that all about? Where,
Hey, bro, my first encounter with Bruce was through Samson, and songs like Riding with the Angels and Earth Mother and vice versa, and Take It Like a Man. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm a child of the new wave of British heavy metal, like the rest of the guys in my band. And, I gravitated toward that whole scene because it was such a great outpouring of music, and I just have really fond memories of just being totally entranced in all those bands.
So, how much of you is enthralled to Thin Lizzy? There is some stuff on this record here.
It was probably the first track. Yeah.
Maybe the first or something. And I'm thinking, hold on a second here. That's like from, forget which Lizzy track, but I'm like, I suppose you'd say it was a homage.
Yeah, we're quote-unquote influenced by.
Yeah, but it's great. It sounds great.
I saw Thin Lizzy on the Live and Dangerous tour in 1978 at Winterland in San Francisco. I was maybe 14 years old. It was even before I played guitar, and, I thought I died and went to heaven. And Actually, I have to say, part of the reason why I play guitar is because of Thin Lizzy, and definitely the reason why I'm stuck on that goddamn wah pedal is because of Brian Robertson. You know, yeah, there's some more homages there. You know, the old Richie Blackmore thing comes out a little bit here and there.
Are you a big Richie fan?
Tremendous. Deep Purple, Rainbow. Yeah, I mean, I remember the first time I heard Stargazer, I about went nuts.
Now, where were you when you heard Stargazer?
I was sitting in a friend's garage, and he came in with a cassette player, and said, "Check this out." And all of a sudden, I heard this crazy drum intro with a pick slide over it. And I was going, "What the heck?" He goes, "Just listen." And he goes, "This is Blackmore's thing. This is what he's doing now, post Deep Purple." And I was like, I want to hear Burn, man. But then, you know, the song kicked in, and I was just taken away.
It's funny you